all of these platforms that come out, TikTok, they're all opportunities for you to grow your business and to reach new audiences. And as long as you view it as an opportunity to scale and grow and make your team more effective and efficient, it's awesome. But if you kind of ignore things like this, you're gonna get left in the dust.
All right, artificial intelligence has been sweeping the internet, and I've gotten extremely interested in it.
Yeah.
So I would love to have a discussion with you, Scott, on how we can implement it as entrepreneurs, as forward-thinking businessmen into our existing business model. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say ethical questions, but a lot of scary changes that could come to our current business model, especially since we run a very writing-based business. And a lot of this I've mentioned to you, and I'd love to talk about some of the capabilities that I had in mind and how I want to implement them into our current company. You'd let me know what you think, and we can hopefully figure out a way to do it. Sound good?
Yeah. So I think to start off, I think everyone, when you think about AI, especially as a writer with Chat GBT, everyone feels like they might lose their job. I think that this is the exact opposite. I think it gives them more tools to use. I think you're always going to need writers. You're always going to need editors. But what it's going to do is it's going to shift it a little bit. It's going to be, instead of, you might not need someone to write as much, but you'll still need someone to create great ideas. So if you're a good writer, if you're good at designing, if you're intelligent, you're still going to have job security. The job's going to shift a little bit.
I'm going to push back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think what's crazy is AI has gotten to a point now where you can spit in a prompt and it will spit out something better and more creative than most humans can do. And I also want to push back on the ideas thing. I ask ChatGPT for ideas on topics, and it spits out perfect titles, really innovative ideas, and then you can take those ideas and turn into a longer form piece of content. I don't think that it's at a point yet where you can confidently say, no more writers, let's just trust the AI to do everything.
Definitely not. It still needs to be edited. But I just did an interview, and I used Jasper, not Chat GBT, but they gave me the questions, and I literally put in Otter PR service, Scott Bartnick, and prompt, and it fed out answers. And then I modified it because obviously it's about me, but I was able to do, and I'm not a fast writer, but I was able to write 5,000 word, basically paper, in 20 minutes. And I'm terrible at writing. So that's just crazy to me.
It is. And that makes a really interesting point where you still had to probably review it. You still had to feed it the prompt. You still probably had to edit it. But what it did for your ability as a writer to scale you is really unique. So as opposed to, maybe we have a staff of 15 writers right now, and each of them are able to produce X amount of papers per day, amount of writing assignments per day. Using these AI tools, it could go from 1 per day to 10 per day. It's able to scale the writers at such a rate that maybe you don't need so many writers. And that's kind of the ethical concern that I want to talk to you about as a business owner.
Yeah, and I also think it depends on the topic too, because from my perspective, what it looks like is there's not a lot of information written about a topic, or if it's an individual that's not in the news a lot, they're not going to be able to pull a lot of information. I've been in the news over 1,000 times, so when I say Scott Bartnick, it goes and researches Scott Bartnick, and sometimes it pulls different people. And for example, Jay Feldman is a more common name. So if you do Jay Feldman, it's going to mix in the wrong school and the wrong information from all over the place. So at that point, it really heavily needs to be edited. So even with mine, I still sent it to our editor. It was still reviewed, proofread, modified. I had to edit it too. Obviously, I had to read the whole thing. So it was still time. But yes, it's much quicker. It's very creative. And the nice thing for me is when I used it, it pulled information in from other sources that had already been written about Otter PR and about something. So you still need to you still have to have someone creative, especially if you're a new business, a new brand. Someone still has to create that initial content for you, so then these AI tools can actually go scrape and find it, because that's what they're doing, is they're doing research on you.
A great point, especially when you're talking about names or companies. What it does is it scrapes the internet, finds all the best results from various places, and compiles them into something that's really usable. So when you're Googling Jay Feldman, for example, I have a lot of overlapping information with other Jay Feldmans.
Yeah.
My net worth, my age. So it's probably going to mess up. And there's a lot of other limitations too. I tried to ask it a medical question just to test it.
Yeah.
It won't give you medical answers yet. So there's a lot of limitations that we're pushing the limits of. And a lot of the tools, like you mentioned, like Jasper AI, Copy AI, are actually running off the back of these other more developed AI softwares, like ChatGPT's OpenAI. Google's Lambda isn't available for public access yet, but I recently did an interview and he said it blows OpenAI out of the water.
That's kind of scary.
So scary. And there's a lot of other use cases outside of writing. Writing's the obvious one. School teachers are screwed. personal statements are screwed, essays are screwed. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. That's a whole separate situation.
Even assessments. I mean, we do writing assessments for new hires, and I put in our assessments just to see what would happen, and it pumped out really good answers. And as you can't tell unless maybe you can do. I've seen people use tools where it'll say it's AI written, so that'll probably become more popular too. And I think that I asked you this question earlier, but I don't know if Google will start being able to recognize AI written materials. So for SEO, you might actually get dinged for using AI. So there's always, as you create these new tools, people are not going to want them, or they're going to say, hey, we can't have all our material written by AI, so they're going to start dinging you for that. I don't know if it is or not. Do you know it is?
There is a screening for AI.
Yeah.
Google does recognize that. However, AI is smart enough. There's other tools to spin and rewrite the content to avoid any AI detectors.
Right.
So the smarter Google gets, the smarter the AI is going to get. I don't know where this is going to go in the future, but anyways, it's really handy for specifically writing tools, for social media captions, for a lot of writing tasks such as that. I think it's going to change the whole game, especially for business owners who are writing focused.
It's cool. And there's going to be so many services built on it. I know just like on the B2B side, you have the chat boxes on websites and stuff like that. The more AI learns and the more you can feed it some prompts, ideally, that's someone really intelligently responding. And everyone's trying to do that. Messenger AI, messenger responses, FAQs, all of that, that's been around for a while, but they haven't been that intelligent.
Right.
And so adding OpenAI as the background to it, there's a lot of potential for that to really be more humanized and still give you really more high level customer service.
I agree. Customer service, done. I mean, it's just crazy to think about as a business owner and to think about the economy and where it's headed. And this is just writing. There's so many other levels of the economy that are being disrupted. I sent you a video that I made with AI yesterday, and granted, video's not there yet.
Video's not there. The audio was off. You can tell.
Yeah, the mouth is moving, the audio's going. It's not quite a human talking. But it's close. It's kind of scary close.
It is. But as a marketing professional, like I look at that stuff and I say no. Like instantly, it's not there yet. And a lot of times I can still tell, and I always look for traces of it, and it bothers me. If I go on a website and you saw an AI generated video like that, I just wouldn't use their service because it's not human, and people speak differently. There's emotion behind them. There's eye contact, the way you engage. That all is part of selling and part of relationship building. So that, AI is not there yet. Maybe it will be, and it could be, but right now I don't think it's there. And even in the writing, you don't have the emotion, you don't have the style. And I know that a lot of those tools will help give it to you, but you're never going to be a famous writer using only AI tools. Like it's not there yet.
I think it's to be seen. We will see. I am shocked at what it's capable of right now. I think if we look 5-10 years in the future, it's going to be an entirely different and scary level of intelligence that we're interacting with every day. Some of the other things that businesses can implement that I've been thinking about implementing for our own company. So let's spitball some ideas. You let me know your thoughts.
Yeah.
AI lead generation was a really cool one. So I'm implementing a tool. It basically auto-populates a campaign with fresh leads, generates personalized videos, and yes, the mouth and the audio isn't quite synced. It doesn't fully sound like a human, but it's just a little person on the bottom left, so you can't really see the mouth going, with a screenshot of their website, and it integrates it all into one. So it's just an automatic machine, and it's just really, really cool, integrating a lot of different forms of AI into one thing.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful, and what you can do with it is endless. But the human aspect, I still think you need good people behind these tools to really maximize it. And right now, no one really knows how to use it. I mean, I've seen so many videos about writing code and doing these different things, but I don't think many businesses are built on it yet, especially since how it's really exploded in the last couple of months. So you will start seeing different businesses built on top of these platforms, built through their APIs. And that's what I'm excited to see is what's going to come, who's going to utilize it. And it will be a big business in the future. And it just kind of depends on, how people are implementing it.
And I guess another big question is, for example, writing. Maybe you get pretty close with AI to a 100 level writing paper.
Right.
Whereas with a human, you get a little bit of a better result, but you pay a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
At what point does it make sense to sacrifice a little bit of that quality and use the artificial intelligence? I guess it depends what business you're in, really.
It would depend on what business you're in. For someone like us, for high ticket, we're judged on our communications. We're judged on the way we present ourselves, and our clients expect the best. if we can't just use AI. I don't think that it's definitely not there yet, but you're not going to be able to represent a new idea, a new concept with AI as well as you can use it as an add-on, but you can't just use that as your main feature. We can't just bring in someone, write an AI article, and expect them to pay top dollar for it. It's not there, and that's not what they're paying for. You really need to interview them, ask them the right questions, and even coming up with those interview questions, use AI to help you, but you still need someone to present that and communicate through and edit and write those things. So it's it's a really cool tool, but it is just, in my opinion, it's just another tool right now, and you can use it as to help strengthen your skill set.
Right. It's basically starting with not a blank slate. You're
Right.
starting with a proven template that the AI spits out that's already been successful online. And the same thing is to be true of like asking it to write a YouTube script for you, which is something that I've been doing. I'll go through, I'll say, give me 10 ideas about artificial intelligence. And it'll give me 10 awesome ideas. I'll
Yeah.
take one of these ideas that I like, I'll say, write me a YouTube script about it. And then boom, I have a really strong YouTube script. I don't use the exact thing,
Right.
but I use most of it. I use the skeleton, and it saves me a ton of time rather than starting from scratch and doing the whole thing myself.
Yeah, it saves you a lot of time in doing that research, and then you still have to do your own keyword research on top of it too, because the tool is not specifically designed for that. So it'll give you maybe some trending topics, then you would ideally go do keyword research, and then go figure out what topic's going to be the best, what you think your audience is going to engage with. So there's still, again, you need that human piece of it because it's not all there. It can't pull in all the factors, but the more intelligent you get with it, and the more kind of coded this thing gets as you look at different variables and as you scale it, if you make your own service out of it, it will start filling in those missing pieces for you and help you make better decisions. I know when it comes to trading, there's a lot of trading AI and there's a lot of trading databases that'll help make decisions and watch the market and watch different signs. And that's a big space that's been around for a while. It's a multi-billion-dollar space. So there's so much potential behind this, especially for someone like us, if we can use ChatGPT to build our own program in a weekend, and then you can start competing with bigger companies.
Right. And I think a lot of SaaS companies are going to spring up all over the place, and eventually a bubble is going to form
Yeah.
with a ton of money rushing into these AI projects. They're going to become oversaturated, and then eventually the winners will emerge.
There's definitely gonna be an AI bubble. I mean, it's starting. I think this is the beginning of the AI bubble, and we'll start seeing all of these new tools come out. And honestly, I feel like a lot of them are just gonna be useless. They're gonna do things that don't need to be done. People are trying to create things, and some of them will be amazing. You'll have your Amazons, you'll have your winners, and then you'll have ones that are just gone with the wind.
Yeah, I think so too. Some other really cool use cases with AI that I'd like to implement. One, graphic design. I don't know if you've used Lensa AI.
I haven't played with it yet, but the idea is so cool.
It's so cool. I was shocked. You upload a couple pictures of yourself and it scans your face and like recreates you in all of these cool avatars and situations. And then as it goes to like thumbnail design or graphic design, you can do copy to photo. Basically say, I want a photo of, dogs dressed as cowboys, running around the Sahara.
Yeah.
And you get a background image of dogs dressed as cowboys. You superimpose a picture of you from Lensa onto that. You've got a really cool thumbnail
Yeah.
that normally a graphic designer would have been paid, a couple $100 to do and taking them hours of work.
And you still, I mean, again, behind this, you're going to get better results if you sell someone creative. And a lot of this is building on something that's already there. So we already have a brand guy, we already have a brand kit, we already have a color schemes, we already have content. So the AI, first off, you know what you're looking for. You have a trained eye, so you know what's going to work and what doesn't work. But also, you've given it a lot of information. So I feel like, just coming out, like you still need someone with a trained eye to help you create this material. So you still need those experts to at least get things started for you.
I agree. Same thing for writing. You need to know what to tell it. You need to
Right.
know what to prompt it, or you're not going to get a good result. Just like interacting with any professional, right? If I'm talking to a mechanic and I don't know anything about cars,
It doesn't work. Fix.
right? He aligned my tires. Cool. He could have just walked in and like knocked on it, walked away. I wouldn't know anything was different. But yeah, you need to be able to interact with it. You can. I'm sure people will start to be trained to interact with AI. But really cool stuff. Landing page, automated landing page generator. This is a new thing that I found, and it's pretty cool. Again, not perfect, but at least it gives you a really cool template to start with.
Yeah, it's the new phase of the internet. I think that through different technologies, there's been new opportunities. I know entrepreneurship with the internet has exploded just because of how easy it is to build a website now, how easy it is to take payments. All of these things are transitions, and they're pivotal. When I mean, PayPal was huge for and eBay. Those were like kind of starting and being able to Shopify for building a simple website. All of these things have, in my opinion, created more opportunity. So yes, the space will get saturated, but there's going to be a lot more opportunity for more people to enter, and there's so much business out there that I don't think it's going to take away jobs. I think it's going to add new jobs and new opportunities for people, whoever's willing to use it.
I think it's going to change everything. I mean, the way that we search for information right now, we'll go into Google,
Yeah.
we'll type in our search phrase, and then we'll get 20 results, a few sponsored ads on top, and then we have to search for the answer that we want. Every single time that I've used ChatGPT and I ask it for an answer, it gives me the best answer I could have possibly imagined, a really well-informed, contextualized answer. So the way that we search for information is about to change.
I was going to ask, what do you think Google's going to do? Do you think it's going to affect Google's business?
Google's got Lambda. From what I understand right now, Google's AI blows this current one out of the water. I feel like they've known this has been coming for a long time and they've been preparing.
Yeah.
What that's going to mean in terms of their advertising model, I have no idea. Because ChatGPT right now is free and it's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I play with it. It's cool.
Yeah. So what is Google going to do to compete against that? How are they going to advertise on top of an AI, search bot? I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting time, and I think we need to be nimble as entrepreneurs. And then also, what does that mean for SEO? Like all of the work that we've done, that companies are done, ranking their websites on Google's first and second page.
Well, and how do you get credit if, like, for SEO, like the whole point of writing these articles and putting out this research is so someone lands on your website, hopefully looks around, makes a purchase. Now these AIs are scraping your website and just putting it together and presenting it in a way that currently on ChatGPT, there's no credit. So they're pooling research, but they're not really making citations. I'm sure you could ask what the citations were, but no one's doing that. They just went, like you said, you just go put in a question, gives you an answer, and it's a great answer. And then there's always that fear too of what if it's giving you the wrong information. And I know there were disclaimers when I signed up saying like this is in beta, they could give you the wrong information, but people are going to start typing in and asking questions and taking it as facts, and that to me is a little scary.
It is, but I think the method that they're using, like people are training it.
Yeah.
If it gives you a bad answer, you can thumbs down and tell them why. And there was a massive training phase that went into turning ChatGPT into a platform that can give you the right answer most of the time. But yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that most websites never get seen on search ever again. Why would you go searching around pages of Google when you can just get a perfect response every single time?
Unless you're looking for a business to work with. Yeah, no, if you're doing research, it seems a lot shorter. Even if college kids, I mean, right now, I'm sure that I've seen things that, like you said, they can tell if it's AI. I'm sure that'll be implemented eventually, but right now it's probably an open frenzy to just write your paper with AI. I couldn't imagine. I mean, in college, writing was one of the things I hated the most, and you could write a 10,000 word essay in probably 3 or 4 hours.
And the value of that skill is lower now because you don't need it. You've got a robot that can do it better than I can. So why would a teacher even want you to write an essay to prove that you can write? Why would a teacher need you to write an email if you can go into ChatGPT and it says, write an email about this?
Yeah.
The value of teaching and learning that skill has been obliterated within a year.
Well, it's kind of the argument too. I know a lot of people grew up without calculators and weren't allowed to use calculators through school. I'm an engineer. We weren't even allowed to use 4-function calculators most of the time, which was for specific reasons. Obviously, we need to understand how the code works. We need to understand if it breaks, how to fix it, how to analyze it. So there's gonna be new coping mechanisms in education where maybe they make you write it live in a timed session and they have like your screens being shared or whatever that is. I'm sure that things are going to start coming out to protect, especially at university, cheating with AI.
Crazy to think about what the future of like learning is going to be now, because if you've eliminated a lot of the creativity that needs to be taught in schools, writing papers, graphic design, coding, a lot of coding right now is done using AI.
Yeah.
Crazy. What do you teach kids? What do you instill as valuable now that this robot can do what a lot of educated workers were needed for?
Yeah, it's scary. There's just so much potential with it, and no one really knows. And I'd be scared for my job a little bit, and especially coming out of college, if I had been studying different, if I can just be replaced, like even as an engineer, like the thing is, you replace certain parts of it, but you still need people that understand how to use it. There's always going to be opportunity.
But it scales that profession to a degree where
Right.
job placement is going to be an issue. Doctors, for example. You've got AI in family medicine that's doing diagnosis better than any doctor can. You give it symptoms, you give it some history, and it spits out an accurate diagnosis and treatment a higher percentage of the time than actual doctors do. Radiology, toast. A lot of people will disagree with me. But it's scary, especially with these high-level creative professions that people study their entire lives to get there, could be, threatened overnight.
No, absolutely, and that's why you need. And I love that. Part of your job is testing all these new softwares and trying. I mean, that's what you do is iterations.
I love it.
Yeah. So as entrepreneurs, as business owners, one of the advantages of still being like a small and more limber team is that we have the ability to adjust. So for us, I view this as an opportunity because we're already playing with it and looking at it. But I would say any business model that's been around for years, you need to look at these things. Like, you always need to be looking at what's coming out new, what's changing in the space. Otherwise, you're gonna get left in the dust because we're a 3-year-old PR company and we beat out PR companies that are 100 years old. Like, we're higher ranked, get better reviews, better trust, faster growth, and more credibility in 3 years. But that's because we're using the new tools. We're using CRMs. We're using automation. We're doing outbound, whatever that is. So we're competing, and our ability to continue to look at AI and different new tools is going to help us stay ahead. And so it's these new generations that grow up with these tools that are the ones that are scary because they're going to just come replace businesses overnight.
Right. I mean, just imagine comparing us against one of the top ranked PR firms. Maybe they have 100 writers making $100,000, and they're writing 1,000 papers, 1,000 press releases per week. And then we implement AI and they can't because they're so old, they're stuck in their ways. And we have 10 writers making 100 grand, producing the exact same quantity of press releases at a fraction of the price. We can then invest all of that money into other things that are going to support our clients. And they're going to have no way to compete against us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like newspapers. Newspapers are. I just drove by Orlando Sentinel, and it's shut down. I'm sure they still have some writers somewhere, but they were not able to innovate, and that space was so big. And what happens is a lot of them are publicly owned and publicly traded, and so they're not necessarily incentivized to change, and they have so much red tape that they're not able to change. So it's critical that anyone listening to this podcast, looks at these new tools and these new softwares and figures out, how can I implement that? If you're interested in rapid growth, you're going to have to continue to compete with your competition who's going to use these tools.
Right. And this goes way farther than just AI. Things change in the landscape of business all the time. The way
Yeah.
that you generate leads, the way that you market, the way that you provide service, what kind of service your clients even need. I mean, there's a chance, especially with Chat GPT now and things like that, that media changes
Yeah,
significantly
it will change.
over the next decade. And if we're not quick to adapt, for example, PR companies from 10 years ago, maybe they're still pitching newspapers and radio shows because that's what they're used to. That's what their publicists are used to.
Yeah.
They're not focusing on podcasts. They're not focusing on influencers on YouTube channels. And if you don't adapt to the current environment of the business that you're in, you're going to get left in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, a simple example is my dad runs a business and he was using Yellow Pages for years and he didn't want to change because Yellow Pages had brought him so much success in the past. But I was like, no, you're paying, $100 a month to Yellow Pages. There's no point. You're getting no traffic. Let's switch you to Google's. His business 10x by just switching that one tool. But he did it like 10 years later than he should have. And that's just because I was able to come in and look at his business. So, it is important that you really are trying all these new tools and experimenting and testing and iterating every day.
So, Scott, what advice do you have to entrepreneurs in the context of AI? What should they be thinking about?
I mean, the biggest thing is test it, try it, use it, see how you can implement that into your service and at least be aware of it. All of these platforms that come out, TikTok, they're all opportunities for you to grow your business and to reach new audiences. And as long as you view it as an opportunity to scale and grow and make your team more effective and efficient, it's awesome. But if you kind of ignore things like this, you're going to get left in the dust.
And to piggyback on that, what message do you have to creatives that might be working for companies, watching all these AIs come out and fear them as like their worst enemy? What do
I
you
mean, for there, I would say you have to use it. So I know when we're interviewing for graphic designers and, creative people, a lot of them are starting to use Canva, which blows my mind. But they said, I can use Photoshop, I can use Adobe, but it takes me 10x the time. And so a lot of times I'll use multiple tools, but I do the quick stuff in Canva. And so that's them using the tools and the resources that just makes it easier because everyone else is doing it. So as a creative, if you can use it and implement it in a powerful way, it's just going to give you a leg up. So this should be more of an opportunity for you to strengthen your brand, to strengthen your knowledge. And so these contractors and freelancers, if you can utilize this, you could end up making 10x the money just by using this one tool. Like you said, if you can write, you're a very good writer, but you use AI for your framework So you've at least reduced your research by 2 hours per paper. So if you were doing a lot of research, you can get your research done and then still go write the paper, and you can do what you're best at, but replace what you're not as strong at or what you don't like doing or what takes the most time with AI.
Totally agree with you. If you're a creative, really need to be thinking about how can I master these tools and use them to increase my productivity and increase the quality of my work. These things are at your disposal. A lot of them are free, a lot of them are cheap.
Yeah.
But if we're interviewing a new creative right now and we ask them, about graphic design and what are some of the tools that you're using, and they're not saying that anything about AI generated graphics, I'm going to be really nervous. And same thing to be said about writers, same thing to be said about any sort of content creator.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see that transition. I know we're interviewing for writers right now, and it's so new that no one's really using it, but it is a big opportunity to utilize this and be more efficient.
Hey, I'm excited to implement some of this stuff in our business. There's so much opportunity out there. I'm digging into all of the tools that are popping up around OpenAI and all of the API linked software applications. Lens is a great example. And they made $10 million in 1 week on the back of OpenAI.
Is that I didn't know that. That's wild.
Crazy.
I mean, even our recruiting platform, we use an application tracking software, and what it does is when someone applies, it reviews all their material and gives them a score based on criteria we set. So it'll basically pull people up to the top based on specific criteria. And we still take humans and we interview them and we do assessments and we engage with everyone. But it does speed up our ability. So if we get 1,000 people that apply, we only have to look at the top 100, and the software will tell us, hey, these are the top 100 based off of these 20 data points, and it's very powerful.
Does AI scare you for any reason, and why?
I think that, I mean, if you think about Terminator, like let's change the subject for a second. There is a lot of potential for AI to become dangerous. Job replacements. You could have AI talking to AI, negotiating. You got two AI bots just going at it, negotiating different things. You have legal that could potentially, I've seen legal platforms with AI. And so, yeah, it scares me a little bit. I mean, there's definitely opportunity for strange things to happen. I don't know what the future is going to lie, but I think that it's more of an opportunity. I think that as long as you're using it properly, and there has to be safeguards in place, but hopefully the people that are creating the tools are creating those safeguards, and I think it's going to be ultimately better for everyone who has the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I usually think the most feared scenario is the one that we safeguard against, and that one never happens.
I hope so.
But it's going to be something horrible that's parallel that we haven't quite thought about, because with the emergence of AI, usually we would have thought that low-level, blue-collar jobs would be the first things replaced. It happened in reverse, and doctors are being replaced, lawyers are being replaced before electricians, before plumbers. We never would have expected that to be the case. Same thing, I think, is to be said about some of the negative effects of AI and potential consequences. It's not going to be anything that we can anticipate, but I think something's coming.
There's always unseen consequences, even with Facebook. I mean, social anxiety is through the roof. You have all these tools that have changed, and people have grown up with cell phones and Instagram in their pocket, and you're looking at, someone's best life. Those change people. So there is going to be consequences to it, whether they're good or bad, whether the good outweighs the bad, we don't know yet.
Okay, Scott, blast talking to you about AI today. I'm excited for what this means for our business, for entrepreneurship. And if you're listening to this and you're like, AI is the devil, I don't want it anywhere near me, I'm going to resist it for as long as possible, you're going to get left in the dust. So implement this into your company, test all the new tools, stay on top of this, because this is the future of business, of the economy. This is the future of the world.